Just slammed the remainder of this tub of Oikos Pro yogurt with a heinous amount of blueberries and honey. The blueberry to yogurt ratio has to be slightly lying in the blueberry's favor for it to be up to my standards. However, to each their own. In today's video though, I want to talk to you guys, have a little bit of a heart-to-heart conversation about how to break out of negative cycles or self-sabotaging cycles. The one that I primarily have a lot of experience with and was able to break free from was the binge eating cycle. And in today's video, I want to have a very conversational style video about what to do if you're maybe going through it, how to escape it. And it's much more than just you love food or you can't seem to not put it down or feel satisfied or whatever. Binge eating for me was induced by stress. However, for a lot of people, it's usually just a lack of emotional regulation. And when I struggled with it the most was when I was the most insecure. And the hardest part with that is your insecurity leads you to self-sabotage, i.e. binging, or literally anything, whatever the case may be. Usually those self-sabotaging techniques force you to put your attention on that to ease the pain temporarily. And by default, you kind of push your goals to the side because you cannot take it. I say take it very loosely. I just kind of did not really know what to say there, but you can't handle it, take it, something like that. And I knew for a fact that I was going through this specifically because when I binged the most was when I was the unhappiest. And in order for me to change my situation in the slightest, I had to do difficult things, right? I didn't like my reality, so the only way to fix it was to change it. But because I couldn't take the insecurity and the stress and all the negative emotions surrounding my current situation, I didn't like my body, I didn't like my lifestyle, I wasn't confident in myself, whatever, I further prolonged my stay in that situation or in that negative circumstance because of the self-sabotaging methods I was using to comfort myself in the moment. So for me, that was binging. A lot of drinking, and I'm not saying that you can't have a drink or you need to be some like military soldier when you're on your weight loss journey or your fitness journey or whatever the case may be, but you are the only person who knows when something is a binge, who knows when something isn't right, or when you shouldn't be doing something. Only you can tell. Obviously, if it's not to an excessive degree where you're binge drinking or binge eating, that someone else can notice, but for the most part, you are the only person who can tell when they're in a binge. Because sometimes people think, oh, a binge is when you have 20 bags of chips. No, in my eyes, a binge is when you had something that you know you didn't want. Like you knew you didn't want to do that. You knew you wanted to eat X, Y, and Z thing today, but you didn't do it. And it's not so much about the literal actions that happened. It's whether or not you had control of yourself in the moment. And that is achieving any goal is being able to gain full control of yourself. Now, I'm not saying that you always have to be able to have control over everything, just yourself. Because a part of being able to have that control over yourself to where you don't need to binge or self-sabotage or, whatever, is releasing control from things that fully up to you to decide the outcome of, right? So that kind of comes with confidence. To have full control over yourself and be able to do things that you know you want to do is really just being able to suffer and not need to reach for the bag of chips, to reach for the alcohol, to reach for the joint, to reach for the doom scrolling all day instead of going and achieving your goals. Something that I see a lot is people running from restriction, but restriction is what allows freedom. Because you're going to experience restriction one way or another. It's either going to be restriction that you impose on yourself to maintain discipline and a healthy lifestyle, or it's going to be restriction imposed on you by your insecurities because you won't do it to yourself. So you're either going to be restricting yourself to a certain degree. I'm not saying you have to live life like a fucking military sergeant. I'm not saying that, but restriction to a certain degree is not bad. Unhealthy restriction because you're insecure, that is bad. But restricting yourself because you know what your standards are, what your habits are, and you know the life that you want and the person that you want to become, that is completely fine. That's completely healthy. I am all for restriction in that sense. And restrict now or feel restricted to your circumstances later and you have absolutely no control and no way to get out of it, right? You feel restricted because you're too insecure to go out on the beach this summer and wear a bikini because or a swimsuit if you're a dude, or you're too insecure to take this risk or take this opportunity to make you, or it now makes you kind of confined to your circumstances because you have absolutely no confidence in yourself, right? You're either restricting now or you're going to get restricted later by the things that you can't do because of the changes or the discipline that you didn't implement within yourself. And I learned that through attacking or conquering binging. And conquering binging was not as black and white as one may seem. It's not like, you're just going to be like, oh, I never binge. It's going to be more so like you build up discipline, mental fortitude, and you have more confidence and control over yourself, that the intrusive thought of eating everything in sight doesn't win. And you get better at handling stress, you get better at handling tough situations, and you kind of understand the repercussions of the binge. The repercussions of binging are not just physical, they're also mental, because you always feel guilty afterwards. You always wish that you didn't do it. And then it kind of prevents you from being able to just have a bite, or just have one, or just have a little bit, or just have whatever it is that you decided you were going to have. You always overstretch because it's like it's like a trigger kind of. And that's what I felt for the most part. And it's like when you practice discipline in your everyday life, you start to consider less things binges. Every single day you show up, you do what you say you're going to do. And half the time that shit can even fit inside your program. So it's not even a binge per se. And I think a part of overcoming binging is releasing the reins a little bit, but also getting better control of yourself. So instead of forcing yourself to adhere to something, unpacking the why behind, okay, I want to do this right now because I'm feeling really, really stressed because of this. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't look at food as something that you should enjoy, right? It shouldn't be something that you don't tie joy to. It shouldn't just be, functional for your performance and your training and your recovery. 99% of the time it should, but there still should be times where you go out to dinner and you enjoy things, or you have a sweet treat and you enjoy it, so long as you can control yourself. And half the time you can't control yourself because you don't know how to regulate or handle your emotions. You feel things and you think that you need to run to fix it. Things are going to hurt. Like, life is going to suck sometimes. It's going to be brutal. You're going to go through tough times. You're going to go through breakups, lose loved ones, have things test you, try you, stress you the fuck out. That's going to happen. Right? But you don't need to always reach for a joint, the bottle, a bag of chips. You don't always need to reach for that. And I think a part of breaking out of the binge cycle for me was being able to walk the line with that. Like, being able to have a certain food that I previously would have binged on and be like, it's totally fine, like it's okay, like I can get up. It's not necessarily about never falling. It's more so about how fast can you get up this time. And it's like learning to get up faster and faster, because life is going to knock you down. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That is what I'm trying to say in this video. Like, you are going to, the more successful you get, the higher levels you reach in life with whatever it is that you're trying to do, the more that you are going to have to be able to handle. And there's so many examples of this in your everyday 9-to-5s, right? People that are trying to climb the corporate ladder, people that are trying to start businesses or do whatever, that are not physically fit or can be quite overweight. And there's some that can be really underweight because the stress leads for them to not eat. Whereas other people, the stress leads for them to binge like no other, pairing that with a lack of movement because they're at a desk all day, or because they, can't prioritize their physical health and wellness. That is a prime example of coping with stress and being successful in all other areas through using binging, when the one thing that you're going to be wishing for after you've climbed the corporate ladder, after you've made all the money, is a functional and healthy body, right? If you are dying at the age of 60 or whatever, or later, earlier, because of the high stress environment you've lived in your whole life, climbing the corporate ladder, and you fed yourself junk and never left your desk and didn't move at all, the one thing you'd be wishing for that you don't have, apart from the money, probably a family, and whatever else you could want, is just going to be your health. And so it's things like that. It's like thinking about being healthy is practicing that discipline and that restriction. And that discipline and that restriction that a lot of people tend to shy away from because of their struggles with binging is what gives them the freedom to not feel the need to binge. It's just a very slippery slope to crawl up. And that is exactly how I got through it. I realized that it was literally an intrusive thought, like, oh, I should have that cookie. Oh, I should have all that. And it's the little like games that you play. You see the cookie and you're like, I'm not gonna have any. And then you have the cookie and then you're like, because it was literally an impulse, like it was right there. It was an intrusive thought. Next thing you know, you're eating it. And then you like start beating yourself up mentally that you ate that cookie and you whatever, you knew you didn't want to, blah, 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 blah. So you eat another one. And then next thing you know, the whole box is gone. And then depending on how fast that you can get up from that spiral, you're off track for the rest of the day. Not too bad. You know, if you can make it end within that day, that's actually pretty good, because I've had binges or times or periods of time where I struggled so much with that negative cycle on top of not knowing how to handle stress and difficult things that it derailed me a few months. And if you can cut it at the day, good job. If you can cut it after the first cookie and be like, it's okay that I had that cookie, no big deal. Because every single day you show up and you're disciplined and you pay your dues, right? Because that cookie, it's not really just about the cookie. It's the fact that you had that cookie and you didn't want to do it, but you're also insecure. You feel like you're fat. You're also not where you want to be. So it's all those things that are already causing chaos up here that because you couldn't not have that cookie, or you couldn't hold yourself back, or you couldn't restrain yourself, that you think about all the things that I just mentioned in your head, plus the fact that you literally couldn't just not eat the cookie. And so that's like the final breaking point. You start to spiral, and that is really what it looked like for me. And I know that it's what it looks like for a lot of my clients that come to me, because 9 times out of 10, a lot of the things that they struggled with, I struggled with too. And when I describe it, that's exactly how they felt to a T. And so everyone online's like, oh, you know, don't over restrict yourself. Don't do this, don't do that. And don't over restrict yourself, but restriction, discipline, doing difficult things is not bad. And the fact that you're searching for easy is what is going to cause you to keep binging, because it's not going to be easy. The moment you accept that it's going to be hard, it's going to be painful, it's going to be difficult, and I'm not talking about going to the gym is going to be painful and difficult. Going to the gym is fun 99% of the time. It's the mental warfare that you go through when you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like it, or when you feel inadequate and you feel like you should be where someone else is at, or when you feel like you're not enough. That is what is difficult. And you know, there's this whole trend going on social media and stuff where people are like, oh, you know, going to the gym is fun. Stop making it some freaking like depressing, sad thing. Going to the gym, of course, is fun, but half of the people that I know going to the gym, especially I used to struggle with this too, struggle with binge eating, could even have any other issues with self-sabotage, could have a negative relationship with the scale, could have a negative relationship with their body, experience body dysmorphia, probably have a shitty relationship with food. 9 times out of 10, they're just not in a positive headspace. Now, I'm saying that from experience, but also tons of positivity and lightheartedness and stuff should also be spread as well. I agree. But the masses are struggling with their body image, because half of the reason as to why they're in the gym is because of that. So yes, people enjoy working out, but when you spend so much time trying to improve your physique, looking in the mirror, worried about what you're eating, there is a mental side to it as well. Binging is really common, yet it's really hard to escape. That's why I wanted to make this video and kind of share my thoughts on it. It's a lot of mental work, obviously, because binging is almost purely psychological. I could see some cases where you do like very intense cardio or very intense training where you're just ravenously hungry, but I wouldn't even call that a binge. Because if you have if you have your nutrition programmed adequately, you'd feel very satiated to promote proper rest and recovery post-lift or post-cardio or whatever. So I wouldn't even call it that. But it is a psychological battle that a lot of people experience, and they think that it's as simple as just being like, why can't I just not eat it? When it's much, much more than that. And the main thing that helped me figure it out and solve it was asking myself questions. Instead of just being like, you are not going to eat that, or you are going to, like, being mean to myself, or being rooted with self-hatred and being like, you don't look good enough to be eating that, or you don't deserve this, or why can't you just do this simple thing of not, that shit doesn't fucking work. Don't try that, because it's just going to make it worse. Because on the other side of binging is the all or nothing mentality. So you either don't binge for an extended period of time, or you're binging every day. And that's just as unhealthy. So we can walk the line with binge eating, self-sabotaging, to flipping the narrative and overtraining, under-eating, and doing copious amounts of cardio. They're both negative. The only way that this is going to be sustainable and it's going to be something that you can keep, that's going to make you look better and more confident, is when we are able to conquer our minds. And that's when it's then reflected in our physique in a sustainable manner that can last forever. Because being so truthfully honest with you, if you're not where you want to be yet, the first place you need to look at is your mind. And so many times it has been due to binge eating. People experience stress. They can't handle it. Like, if I'm being so for real, all these videos I make are tailored to younger me. It's because you can't handle it. Like, I don't want to be harsh. I'm not trying to sound insensitive, but if there's anything that she needed to hear, it was that she couldn't handle it. Be able to have a tough day, be able to have a stressful day, be able to go through things that probably don't feel the best and say, all right, it's fine. I'm still going to go to the gym, eat foods that I enjoy, but also are intentional to getting me where I want to be, i.e. building muscle, losing fat, promoting better training or better rest and recovery. Being disciplined is what's going to help you conquer binging, and not binging is going to make you feel so much better when you have full control over yourself. And having full control over yourself is being able to let go of needing to control external things and being okay with feeling it. And when I say letting go of control of external things, I mean like outcomes that you absolutely cannot fully go in your favor. And just releasing control in that sense and controlling yourself and being able to say, okay, I'm going to enter this relationship and I might get heartbroken, and that is okay. And it's like feeling things, like you feel stress, you feel heartbreak, you feel uncomfortable, and being able to just take it and be like, yeah, this sucks. This hurts. I don't like this. Why do I not like this? Why does this hurt so bad? Why am I feeling? Just asking yourself why and figuring it out, because there are things about you that you may or may not be aware of that cause you to do the things that you do. And those things that you do, i.e. your habits, shape your external reality. And so if you don't like your physique, or you're overweight, or you don't like your life, any part of your life, if you don't like anything, take a look at your habits. If one of those habits happens to be binging, consistently skipping the gym, doom scrolling, doing drugs, drinking a lot of alcohol in an unhealthy way, not really big on promoting drug use, but I'm not against alcohol. Just know that that's what's shaping the reality. And when you find out what those negative habits are that you have, take a few steps back and ask, all right, why do I need to get piss poor drunk on a Saturday night and order bottle service when I'm broke and I'm maybe fat, or maybe don't really like my appearance, or maybe feel insecure? Why am I doing that? And it's because you're insecure, that you're broke, that you're fat, that you don't feel like you're enough. And to cope with that insecurity, you're getting piss poor drunk, spending money that you don't have to impress people that you probably don't like. I really hope that what I said, or what I construed, the sentences that I construed, I really hope that this helps you get a better insight as to why you binge, because when you understand why you binge and what it is that you are struggling to handle, and you realize that escaping the cycle of binging is learning how to handle whatever it is that you're not facing, that was the first step for me in escaping my binge eating cycles and getting out of that, was figuring out that I'm okay if I don't reach for the alcohol, if I don't reach for getting high, if I don't reach for food. And that thing that's going to truly cure those insecurities that I have about myself is following the plan instead of trying to instantly gratify myself. Because binge eating is just a bad habit. That's a form of instant gratification that's self-sabotaging. And the only way to escape it is by practicing discipline, paying your dues, and understanding why it is you're struggling to handle whatever it is you're struggling to handle. Binge eating is not cured by over-restricting and cutting out certain food groups and cutting out cookies and cake and whatever. The only way to feel free is to be able to have that cookie or to have that cake or to have whatever it is and not feel guilt and shame and all those things that you feel after a binge afterwards, because you're confident, you're secure in yourself, you do the things that you say you will, you show up for yourself even when you don't want to, you practice discipline in your daily life. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you struggle with binge eating and you want me to make more videos about binging and how I ended up escaping the binge eating cycle, drop a comment down below or DM me on Instagram. I will link my Instagram in the description of this video. If you need help escaping the binge eating cycle, building your dream physique, or just want to get your nutrition dialed in, I will leave the application to my coaching in the description of this video as well. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, remember to do hard shit and be confident, but most importantly, don't forget how much I love you guys and I'm rooting for y'all. I will see you guys in the next video.